Welcome to today's new family orientation session. Before we begin, we have a few important housekeeping notes to cover.
La traducción al español para esta sesión es proporcionada por Wordly, una herramienta de traducción en tiempo real. Para acceder a este contenido en español, haga clic en el icono del globo en la barra de herramientas del lado derecho de la pantalla y seleccione Español en la lista de opciones de traducción.
Today's session is being recorded. Recordings will be available approximately 3 hours after the session ends. You can find session recordings in your session schedule or in the on-demand page of the Hub. To ask questions during this session, click on the Q&A button in the panel to the right of your screen. We'll answer as many questions as we can, either during the session or at the end. You can submit questions anonymously. Please don't share any personal information in questions, as questions will be visible to all guests. If you see a question in the Q&A panel that you want to see answered, upvote it to let our team know. Lastly, we ask that you please join us in upholding and promoting UC San Diego's principles of community, and in keeping our community free from any and all forms of discrimination and harassment. Now let's get started with today's new family orientation session.
Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning for wherever you may be joining us from today for this new family orientation, a part of the New Family Orientation Hub 2025 here at UC San Diego. My name is Dan Perez. I am the Associate Director for the Office of Parent and Family Programs, and I'm happy to join you all today for a little bit to talk about how we at the Office of Parent and Family Programs stay engaged with families, not just as they are coming into the university during their students' first year, but also through both years for transfer students and families, but also all 4 years for undergraduate students while they may be here at UC San Diego, to kind of help them through the different transitions their students may face, help families themselves through the transitions that they may face, and that we can create a UC San Diego community that is all about education, turning inquiries into resources, and also supporting and generating community here at UC San Diego so that students benefit. And so I'm just going to spend a few minutes with you all today to kind of talk about how we really understand and want to acknowledge your students' transition to this new environment. We also want to normalize the emotions that go along with this transition, not just for students, but the families themselves. We understand that families can have their own transition depending on which student it is that may be going off to college, and that transition may be different depending on that student. So this is the first student to leave home to go to college. It's usually a larger transition for that family because this is the first of many things that are happening. If it's the last student, that's also another transition where the last student is leaving families with maybe an empty nest, and it kind of signals closure of a time in a family's life where they've been seeing students through K through 12 and seeing them every day. We want to remind families that college is the next natural step for students, that this is what they've been working for 18 to 20 years, what you all have been working for in supporting students make their way to UC San Diego. And I know yesterday I had colleagues from Counseling and Psychological Services talk about this, but we also recognize that for parents and families, college may represent a sort of break with their student that may not seem so natural, that the relationship will undergo a transition, and that's okay. And it's about exploring that and finding what works for both parties together. And also to ensure that we prepare you all for that shift that may happen in the relationship with your student, which is going to be evident through their growth and their learning here at UC San Diego. So a lot of that we're going to cover. But I know that we do have the Q&A available. And so if you all would like, I'd like to just hear where you may be from. Feel free to utilize that Q&A tool to shout out where you're joining us from today. And it's also a good chance to get used to using it because we'll be, having a live Q&A at the end of this session. So if you feel free, go in, pop in, let us know where you may be attending from today. All right, we've got some families local. Thank you for joining us. Some from just up the road in Chino Hills, California. Some families from out of state, including Denver. We've got folks joining us all from California, New Jersey, San Francisco, and Arizona. So I just want to acknowledge that the transition for families may also look different for those out-of-state families. Those families where the students aren't just a short car ride away. They can't visit on the weekends routinely. And that may also impact the students' time here at UC San Diego and how they view their experience and how that also impacts the shift with their relationship and how they really, find themselves here on campus. And how we kind of view, and thank you all for sharing where you may be joining us from today, how we kind of view students entering the university and their time here is through what we call a W curve. And this is something that we see across many student experiences, primarily during their first year. As students matriculate into the university, they're very excited. Orientation, learning who their roommate's going to be, living in a new place, living on campus, finding new classes, the excitement of the reward and payoff of 18 to 20 years of hard work, resulting in now being a UC San Diego student. There's a lot of anticipation about new experiences, and that newness will last for a few weeks, sometimes a month or so, before students may leave this honeymoon area that's right here at the first point of the W and kind of slide down into this first dip, which we refer to as culture shock, which typically happens around 3 to 5 weeks within the student's first year here at UC San Diego, where students may be facing academic challenges for the first time, where they may struggle to keep up with the level of coursework that is, required here at UC San Diego, very different from their previous academic work. They may feel homesick, missing family, missing friends, missing siblings after a month is very real, and being in a new place, feeling alone or disconnected can really impact that as well, especially if they don't see themselves finding community as easily as they may have, where they grew up. And also adjusting to a new routine can be difficult. Having to plan every meal for themselves can be stressful at points, having to take care of themselves, or doing laundry and these other tasks while balancing this with demanding coursework and trying to be social and all these things that are asked of them is such a big change that will hit them and ask these students to try and keep up with this marathon of attending college in the first few weeks. So students can sometimes end up questioning if they made the right decision to attend UC San Diego. Sometimes it's the major. Did they choose the right major? Maybe they're not enjoying the coursework like they thought they would. Sometimes students question if college is even right for them in those first couple of weeks because they're not enjoying it as much as they thought they would. And so with this understanding, our office will promote different resources and programs for families, primarily Family Weekend. We ask families to come back and join us around that 3rd or 4th week during the academic year, because we know that's when students tend to typically slide down into that first dip. And so we bring the family back on the campus. We have 2 days of exciting events, that are not only fun bonding times on campus with your UC San Diego student, but we're providing access to departments and resources that are about student support, ways your students can get involved, providing all this information, these opportunities, not just for you to share with your student, but to give you the information and the resources so that when their students continue or may hit that first dip, if your students have yet to hit that, you be prepared with some information and some tools in your back pocket from attending Family Weekend. And so we hope that through the rest of the fall quarter, students will find their way, adjust a bit, make some friends, feel like they're succeeding in courses. And as we move towards the end of the fall quarter, they're looking forward to accomplishing having a quarter of college under their belt or a college at UC San Diego under their belt, and they're looking forward to a break. I know all of us usually do, and going home for the holidays. And then sometimes we tend to see as students return in the winter quarter, another dip. And this tends to happen because some of the challenges that students faced in the fall return. They feel that they may have accomplished it, that they may feel like they've made enough friends, or they found their community, or that they feel like they have a grasp on coursework and that they're getting used to the level of academia here at UC San Diego, or that they're not missing home as much as they thought they would, that they were really starting to enjoy being away from home. And after break, if those challenges and issues still kind of linger, students can again withdraw and kind of slide down into this second dip on the W curve. And in order to help with that, our office, not only through publications like our newsletters and our website and keeping up to date on resources that are available for students and educating families on those, we provide some programming that families can attend virtually, primarily our Trying Family web series. Now that starts in November and continues through the rest of the year. And that is a program that is built off of 5 years of research and analysis of family questions, inquiries, voicemails, everything families of UC San Diego undergraduates asked our office over a 5-year period. We looked at everything. We were able to kind of see what the hot topics were at the hot times throughout the year, and be able to create themes and areas that we would want to present resource sessions and presentations and webinars on, to be proactive. So we weren't just waiting for families to come to us with their concerns about their students, but be able to provide information that we wanted to ensure students were receiving when they needed it. Because we know that students will most likely turn to their families first before they turn to someone on campus, before they turn to an academic advisor or a counselor with CAPS, or even to their peers sometimes. You know, they find comfort in confiding in families. And so if we can provide these resources on a proactive basis to families, it's only going to benefit students. So that is a monthly webinar series that we start in November and continue all the way through the rest of the academic year ending in May, because we know that sometimes students may drop back down. And we hope that through perseverance, through seeking out resources, getting the assistance, because there's so many different departments on campus that are all here to support students, through family engagement and involvement, understanding that our office exists here to provide families with resources and information to help their students succeed. With all that, we hope that students, as they move towards the end of their first academic year here, move towards achieving a balance, finding routines that work for them, finding support, community, finding involvement on campus that provides them with, you know, enriching activities, and also that they feel that they can be successful in their courses and their classwork, and that they feel like they're moving towards earning a degree and having an experience that is beneficial, and that they hopefully end the year on this upward trajectory. Now, sometimes students will enter the university and not ever leave the honeymoon phase during that first year. They may come in, immediately feel like this is the place where they're supposed to be, immediately feel like they can accomplish the coursework, what's asked of them. They find routines that work. So sometimes through that first year, they're in the honeymoon phase, and they may not enter this first dip not necessarily culture shock, but this second one about, withdrawing and facing challenges, because it may be the first time they've ever faced challenges before, especially when it comes to school. And so in their second year, they may drop down. And again, this is why we continue to provide new and applicable resources and programming for families. We tend to not repeat the resources and programs we do. We keep trying to stay current, provide information on different topics, while also recording and keeping all of the presentations and webinars we've done previously to create a library and database for families to access. That's primarily on our website and our YouTube, but also how can we stay up to date with what is affecting students and what families need to know and how we can best support families, so that no matter when students may go through this W curve adjustment, that families may feel prepared to help their students adjust to life here at UC San Diego. And a lot of what we do, not only is it based off data points and research that we've done ourselves, but we really try to base our work in a few different student development theories or identity theories. And one that we use a lot is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so we understand that when families turn to us and they're asking questions, or they're concerned about their students, or they're looking for help, that those are going to come, those types of questions are going to kind of fall into the lower two pieces of this hierarchy, which is physiological and safety. So is my student taking care of themselves? Are they well? Are they eating healthy? Are they feeling like they can take care of themselves? Again, that is understanding what they're eating, getting enough sleep, also if their student feels safe. It's a very large campus. It could be a new city, a new state, a new country. Does my student feel safe? Because it's, if students are not accomplishing the first two pieces of this hierarchy, there's no way for them to move forward, to feel like they belong, to feel confident in themselves, and to achieve that self-actualization. And so we understand the types of questions that families are going to have, and we are prepared to answer a plethora of different topics. And I will say that I in my nearly 7 years here at the university, have probably seen every sort of question a family member or parent may have in support of their student. I would say 99%, because there's always that 1% that may be the first time someone's asked that question. And so, I just want to go through on how we kind of receive these questions and inquiries, and how we can provide answers that turn these questions and inquiries into resources. So if a family member comes to us and say that their student is having a hard time with classes, we want to be able to provide them information about how they can reach out to their, the student can reach out to their academic advisor, their college advisor, exploring the other tools, be it the Teaching and Learning Commons, study groups, or their professor's office hours, so that we can provide them with a litany of different ways that students can receive academic assistance, so that families can then have a conversation or provide different resources to their students, and their students can go ahead and choose the one that works best for their situation. So that we hope that students and families can, again, come to us with a question and then say, I referred my student to utilize their professor's office hours. Not just simply giving them a phone number or an email address or a website, but really giving them a list of tools or helping them find the departments that will have the support services or resources for their student. So another question that we see can be about, who can my student talk to about issues with their roommate? We know that sometimes college is not only a large adjustment for all the other things I've stated today, but also it could be the first time that a student's sharing a room with someone. Or if, the student's sharing a living space with someone their own age or relatively close to their own age, because they may be an only child and not had siblings before. So we want to, again, walk families through all the options that are available, but also provide some strategies. We really, in situations that have to deal with roommates, we always refer families to have their students connect with their resident advisor. That's what they're there for. But also we can provide other strategies of conflict resolution to families that they can refer their students to. So sometimes if students remove themselves from the area that is causing that conflict, that can lead to better discourse and conversation. So we can say, maybe ask your student if they can take their roommate and they can eat dinner, have lunch, get coffee outside of the room to discuss the issues. Because sometimes discussing those issues in the place that is causing it can not be beneficial, and it can kind of not be proactive. So we have, again, the ability to provide different strategies for families as well, not just pointing them towards departments and resources, but provide strategies and talk them through situations so that they can help support their student. And like I mentioned, in that second part of the pyramid, safety, you know, families will always be concerned about their student safety. And so if family members are looking for resources to ensure that their students are safe, we can provide them with information and resources, again, that will help with that. So we would inform this family that their student may reach out to the community service officers with UC San Diego Police, who will be able to provide an escort service and walk or shuttle students from the library to their resident hall or to their car if they're commuting. Because we know it's a large university and students may be here late at night. And so we have resources at the university to help minimize those unsafe feelings or situations. And so being able to provide that information to the family to pass along to the student is what we hope for. And lastly, sometimes it's not necessarily about responding to issues, but also just how can you know, my student be involved? How can my student find internships? Or sometimes how can my student find community on campus? And so depending on what a litany of those questions are, we can point those families to the areas of interest for their student. So if we have a family member asking, how can my student find students with similar cultural backgrounds? Well, we can provide them with the list of the resource centers or the information on how your student can get connected with them. So we'd hope that that family would be able to get their student connected with maybe, say, the Black Resource Center or the Roswell Resource Central for those areas that share, you know, similar cultural backgrounds with those students so they can find community. So again, a lot of what we do is not just simply providing or reading off a web page, you know, and providing phone numbers for other departments. We do make referrals. We will get you connected when those services are best suited to assist you and your student, but we're here to ensure that we can provide information, strategies, resources, so that you can be a one-stop shop for your student when they come asking for questions or help during their time here at UC San Diego. And a few of the ways that we do that, not just through answering questions, but we also do that through a plethora of publications. Our website is one of the best tools here at UC San Diego. It really takes this large 8-college university and gives it the best cliff notes. So if you're looking for information, we want to implore you to check out our new family checklist that's available on our website, parents.ucsd.edu. I know your student has probably referred to their Triton checklist, which is included in their Triton Link portal. Well, this new family checklist is basically that, but it's written for families, and it goes through month by month of deadlines families should be aware of, what's upcoming, you know, suggestions on what to start thinking about or what to start planning for in which month. And that starts in May on our family checklist and goes all the way through October. We also have our parent and family guide, which kind of reviews what your student may see here or experience through their 2 to 4 years here at UC San Diego, and things to be mindful of during those different years. Because each year, I mean, each quarter even is a different experience for your student. So the more information we can provide you to look out for, to understand, to predict during your student's experience here, depending on where they may be in their journey, is something that we want to continue to do. We send out quarterly newsletters. Our Triton Family Connection e-newsletter goes out in September, December, March, and June. And it encompasses so much great information for families about ongoing events and programs at the university, resources, new support services, just everything that families need to know to help their student throughout the year. Also, our First Generation Family Connection e-newsletter is one centered on communities of first generation students. Specific programming, specific spotlights of first generation staff and students and faculty members that talk about their experience as a first generation student. Myself, I'm a first generation, college student, and the understanding and perspective of knowing that my college experience was not just my own, but it was also my family's, that my parents got to go to college for the first time kind of with me, and they take pride in my alma mater, that because they see my alma mater as also theirs. I'm pretty sure my mom still has my alma mater's license plate frame that says, UC San Diego mom, even though I didn't go to UC San Diego. She still has it there, and I may or may not have graduated from my undergraduate like 15 years ago. But the pride point still stands, and so we understand that first generation families, they have different needs, but also different connections in different community, and so we provide a newsletter that connects with that. Again, a lot of these resources that I've spoken about today can be found on our website, parents.ucsd.edu. And we hear your inquiries through two ways: our helpline, which that phone number is up on the screen, or our email address, parents@ucsd.edu. So we receive hundreds of questions throughout the year. Sometimes we break into the thousands from family members about every aspect of their student's experience on campus, and we do our best to either answer those questions immediately or get them connected with the department and resource best suited to answer those. We also provide ways that families can be engaged with our program that is outside of our programs and events, and that is through our Trine Family Ambassador program. So we have around 50 or so family ambassadors that are not just in San Diego, but California, the United States, and even internationally, who volunteer at our events, who help support our program when we have regional events, or we're partnering with departments that have regional events. An example is just in April, I traveled to the Bay Area for a new Trine welcome reception, and we were able to reach out to our family ambassadors in that area to come table and meet prospective and incoming families and share a little bit about their journey. But they also volunteer at events like Family Day and other in-person programming events that we have. And we're working on really building out this program to make it more social as well. For the first time ever this past April, 5 different Trine Family Ambassadors all throughout California hosted socials in their hometown. They were able to invite other UC San Diego families whose students were currently at the university to come hang out at a restaurant or a brewery, or even in some cases their home, and just to mix and mingle and get to know each other and really feel connected to the UC San Diego community, not just in San Diego, but wherever they may be, understanding that, with our 30 some odd thousand family members, that they're all over the place. And we also have programs that I've talked about, all those in-person programs, including our new family welcome reception, which will be on September 20th. So during move-in, if you're on campus and your student needs a break, you can come hang out with us for a little bit, meet our staff, meet some of those family ambassadors I've talked about, but also meet other families on campus. We also will be hosting a small in-person orientation program for international parent and family members that'll be hosted on September 21st. And as I mentioned, our virtual programming series, the Trine Family Web Series, which will be starting in November. And that is something that's near and dear to my heart because it allows us to connect with UC San Diego families throughout the entirety of the year and connect with them wherever they may be, not just having them have to be on campus for us to engage with them. And the big one that I've mentioned just a few times, which will be coming up in October, is Family Weekend. It is Friday, October 17th, Saturday, October 18th. We have 2 full days of events. Last year was our Return to Family Weekend with our first standalone Family Weekend program in over a decade, and family members came out in droves. We had about 2,300 folks join us on campus for 2 days full of events. A ton of fun. We broke the attendance record for the women's volleyball game against UC Irvine, which is our blue and gold rivalry game, which we won, by the way. But we've got a fantastic slate of programming for students and their families, all starting on Friday, October 17th, and continuing up until the evening on Saturday, October 18th. So on screen is just a small list of those events and those sessions that will be occurring throughout the weekend. So save the date for Family Weekend. It's for every family member of UC San Diego undergraduate students, and registration will open in August. Well, folks, that brings me to our portion of the presentation where I welcome you to send any questions my way, be it about your student experience, be it about our office, be it about ways you can stay engaged. However, any question you may like, you can utilize the live Q&A function, that function I had you test out while letting me know where you're from, and I'll be able to answer any questions we may have. All right, we have a nice question. When is move-in day? So it's really interesting. At UC San Diego, move-in is more than one day. It actually will start September 17th and continue through September 21st. Students will receive their housing assignment in August, which will include like their building, roommates, and at that time they'll receive their opportunity to sign up for a day to move in. And so it's important that your student pay attention to the emails and notifications that come through their TriLink portal so that they know exactly when they can sign up for their move-in time and slot, because students will also need to sign up for orientation with their college because those have in-person programming throughout the same week. And so it's recommended that you cannot move in on the same day you have orientation. So when it comes to scheduling, make sure your student understands when their orientation date is that they'll sign up for and when they would like to move in then, because we don't want those dates to conflict. Great question. Another great question is, how can parents get involved or volunteer? And that is, again, through our Triant Family Ambassador program. You can find more information about that on our website under the Get Involved tab. And again, that participation looks like not just participating in our in-person programming and volunteering, but also serving for any types of surveys we may send out, webinars that we may ask for folks to serve as panelists, or again, we really want to build out a more social volunteer program this year. So, attending these regional socials is something that we're looking forward to really incorporating in our Triant Family Ambassador program this year. Great question again. Here we go. Are these resources available at each college or generally the whole university? Which UC San Diego, it does operate on an 8-college system. So each college has its own group of different support services. So that means there's a dean of student affairs for each college that has a staff that is primarily there to serve the students within that college. Not just like housing and academics, but student life as well. So you'll find college advisors that are specifically there for the first couple years of a student's journey here at UC San Diego, who are helping them with their college GE requirements, because each college has different general ed requirements, helping them plan their schedules during their lower division coursework. And so that is specific to those colleges. And there's also lots of student life personnel that are specific to those colleges because it's a big college community that we have here at UC San Diego. But there are centralized resources that are available to all students. Those run through different programs and departments such as the Center for Student Involvement, which services all students on campus with centralized involvement opportunities that are not just specific to a student's college. The Teaching and Learning Commons, which provides supplemental academic involvement opportunities, enrichment programs, and tutoring and study groups, again, which are not specific to a student's college. And sometimes offices like ours, which we serve all 8 colleges here for undergraduate families. And so there is a balance, but it really actually is more that there's even more support services here than you may see at a university that does not utilize the college system, because they don't have those specialized 8 individual resource centers, because there is a generalized student affairs department and generalized student life department, generalized academic department, and also school-specific and major-specific academic departments as well that are here to support and service students. And so there are so many people on campus here to support your student, and they can either be individualized through your student's college or centralized through the main university. Thanks for that question. Another great question. Being out of state, a flight away, is there a department to ship dorm room items to? So if you go over and review the information on the Housing, Dining, and Hospitality website, they will have all the information about not just shipping and mailing packages, but typically it can be difficult for out-of-state families to bring everything with them. Until your student has an address and a mailbox, it won't be until they move in and they get their mail key. So it is recommended that things do not arrive before the students do, because they may be unattended or unclaimed for quite a while and they can get lost in a shuffle. And so once your student has their housing assignment, they can communicate that to anyone that may be sending them things, and to ensure that things are not shipped until the student is moved in, because that's the safest way to ensure that they make it to their final destination. All right, thank you for all these questions, just reviewing them. Here's a great question. Do colleges have orientations for parents? So colleges will participate in a virtual family orientation. They will be hosting what may look like a normal Zoom meeting where they use to see folks and mingle. Some colleges will have some in-person programming that is not orientation programming, but during move-in weekend when families are here, they may have different events that families are able to attend. But as far as it goes for in-person or college-specific orientation programming, that is either going to be through the virtual means that we have here at the Hub, or through college invites, or it'll be non-orientation related in-person events during the first week of the first weekend during move-in weekend, that's 20th and 21st. But colleges are not going to host their own orientation program that looks similar to this. This centralized all new family orientation hub is for all families of students in all 8 colleges. Thanks for these questions. Here's a good one right here. So, how do students learn about selecting classes to make sure they cover all the necessary course requirements? Students, through the TriLink portal, will be able to review their coursework, their academic plan, and look at how they are progressing. They also will receive information from their college advisor on general education requirements and how they're what to register for there. And for new students, they will receive the ability to request advising appointments come August with through the Virtual Advising Center. We recommend that students schedule a meeting as soon as they can with an advisor to just kind of discuss any questions they may have. But students will also receive modules as part of the virtual orientation process that they have to complete before arriving on campus that will review course selection and registration. And at any time, if students have any questions about selecting courses or how to build their schedule, or if they're struggling to find the classes that fit their schedule that they need to take because they're required, they may be at the same time, or how do they, what's the best way to customize their academic plan, we recommend them scheduling, again, through the Virtual Advising Center, either an appointment with their college counselor, or if it is going to be their upper division work, that they schedule an appointment with their major advisor as well. Because those are going to be the best resources to help students take a personalized look at their academic plan and ensure that they're registering for the appropriate classes in the appropriate order. Thanks for that question. Question for transfer students. Can transfer students access campus dining and recreation facilities? Yes, so all campus dining facilities are available to all students. Students living on campus will have a meal plan, which will allow them to utilize that meal plan at any dining establishment on campus. Students can also obtain Triton Cash by loading funds onto their ID card to utilize at any dining establishments. And yes, students have access to all the recreation facilities. It's covered in the student recreation fee that is included in the student involvement and all those different things that make up the tuition, as folks call it. So any student has access to dining and recreation facilities, no matter if they're a first year or a transfer student. And also, following with other questions for transfer students and their families, are there specific activities for parents of transfer students? So sometimes we do have different sessions that are specifically for transfer students and their families. We also work with the Transfer Hub to provide information in our newsletters that are specific for families of transfer students, or make them aware of the programming that may be taking place for their transfer students. But we hope to build that out more, and hopefully in the future we can include more programming that is specific for different populations of families, including transfer students. Pardon me. Okay, trying to hear. So we do have a couple questions. So this has been asked a couple times, but just to answer it is, when do students register for classes? This will happen later in the summer. Again, students will receive access to the Virtual Advising Hub a week before their registration date. And it will also be concurrent or just after they start their orientation module, so they're aware of how to utilize, what to register for, and so on. And so this will happen later in the summer, sometime in August. Again, they will first get access to the Virtual Advising Center before their registration date. Thank you for the question. And also, to go along with that, I think I saw another question that asked if students have the same advisor during all years here at UC San Diego. So we operate with a two advisor system here at UC San Diego. There's a college advisor that is specific for the students in the college that are focusing on those specific general education requirements, the initial transition to college, or the initial transition to UC San Diego, and what students need to complete before they move into solely focusing on their major and their minor work. And then there are programmatic advisors. Those programmatic advisors are specific to each major program and are housed within the academic schools here at UC San Diego. So it's not just a single advisor that is assigned to a student. Specifically, I'm talking about the colleges, because that's a group of advisors that work to support all students at that college. So no, they won't have an assigned counselor or advisor that they're working with. Sometimes they may have repeat appointments with the same advisor, but typically there's not one assigned to them. For the major programs, depending on their major, it's pretty much the same thing where it's a group of advisors assisting and helping students. But depending on the size of the program, there may only be 1 to 2 academic advisors because some programs are a lot smaller. Some programs may be a lot bigger where there's a team that's larger than some of the college academic advising groups. All right, let's get a few more in here. Here's a great question about summer housing. So summer housing is different. Students will have to apply for summer housing during that application process. I believe that starts in the end of the winter quarter. The housing for the academic year is a 9-month contract unless you're in a specific apartment, or for graduate students, that's a year-to-year basis. But for undergraduate students, it's typically 9 months because they don't assume that undergraduates will be living on campus for the whole year. Students can then apply for summer housing. And Housing Dining Hospitality will communicate when that application process opens for students who will be in need of summer housing. All right. How do students find out about clubs on campus ahead of orientation? Great question. The best resource is going to be the Center for Student Involvement here at UC San Diego. Their website is simply csi.ucsd.edu, and they will have the complete list of all 500 plus registered student organizations and clubs on campus. So that's the best place to start looking at what your student may be want to be involved in and what clubs exist. If students get to campus and they can't find a club that's around a certain interest that they would really like, but it doesn't exist here, students then can work on creating their own club and organization on campus as well. So I would start with the Center for Student Involvement. That's the best place. And then always the first few weeks of campus, it's always full with different fairs, including Student Involvement Fair. It's like the biggest one, and we'll have student clubs and organizations and Greek organizations lined up on Library Walk for weeks, recruiting new members. All right, just a few more. There's a question for the International Parent-Family Orientation Day. Yes, folks, if you are family of an international student, you will need to register for the in-person portion of International Parent-Family Orientation, and registration will open later in August, and you will receive more information about that as we move closer. There are a few questions about what academic resources are available for students adjusting to the quarter system and how best to schedule an appointment with an academic advisor. And so those are both wrapped up in meeting with their college advisor. Students will be able to do that in August. They'll receive access to the Virtual Advising Center. And from there, they will be able to schedule an appointment, but also at any point ask any questions they may have, basically through an email-esque system that they will receive a response to as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to wait for an appointment, but they can always ask on-demand questions and get those answers. And the orientation programs that the colleges provide and the resources available through the college advising offices are going to be the best places to kind of help and assist students in adapting to a faster paced quarter system. And so it's really ensuring that the students know that they have places that they can ask for help from. That's the best resource in helping students adjust. All right, just two more before we wrap up this session. Thank you so much for being really engaged with us today. There is a question about transportation from Oceanside, which allows me to talk about some of my favorite things on campus, which is the access to public transportation. So not only does the MTS bus system run through UC San Diego's campus, but we have our own trolley system, our trolley station as well, the UC San Diego Blue Line that goes all the way from La Jolla, all the way as far south as the United States-Mexico border. You can get on the Green Line and head as far east as Santee, and you can also jump on to the small Orange Line to get around downtown San Diego. It also includes discounted ticket prices for Amtrak, and specifically if a student may be trying to get from Oceanside to UC San Diego, they can get discounted usage for the coaster and take the short train from Oceanside down to any of these stations that they could then hop on an MTS bus and or catch the trolley from. So that is all available. Having the trolley station on campus really opened up UC San Diego to greater San Diego and making it the city at large and the county at large more accessible to UC San Diego students. And students do not pay any extra fees to have that MTS pass. It is included. So they can get unlimited use of the MTS services during their time here at UC San Diego. I, as a staff member, pay for my MTS pass, and it's great. I use it quite often, especially when trying to get around downtown without a car. And so it makes me happy that UC San Diego does have such an ease of access to public transportation. All right, folks, I'm going to take one last question on screen before my voice gives out. Again, thank you all for asking these great questions. And here's an interesting question. Here's one of those 1%. So are there any things that stand out that you've seen among parents trying to support their first year student transition, like best or unusual practices? I think for me, what I have seen in my better half of a decade working with families, specifically here at UC San Diego, is the more families can be engaged with the university, and by that I don't mean like needing to know every single deadline and you know, having the information about the I want to say contractual specifics about, you know, fees, deadlines, forms that need to be submitted, but I mean engaged with the university through means of attending programming, visiting the campus and visiting their students, working with their students to, you know, explore the surrounding areas of La Jolla and San Diego with their student and share memories and have fun with them on campus. Attend UC San Diego athletic games with them, and also attending our programming with their students, be it, you know, mainly family weekend, kind of results in an all-around better experience for their student. And it leads to their student being more successful because the family's more engaged. And when the families feel like they have a connection to the university that is not dependent on their student's experience, the families have a better time. The families have a better relationship with the university. They, you know, and it breeds such a great community that we see, and that those students whose families enjoy interacting and engaging with UC San Diego tend to benefit more. One, because by that, those family members tend to be more informed, more aware of what's going on campus, more aware of the resources and departments that are available for their students. But also, it's just this levity, because this can be such a serious thing. Many students are coming here to achieve great big things, and then it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work very quickly sometimes. But for families to remind students that it's a time to grow and learn and make mistakes and have fun, and that there's a balance to it, is where I see those students having such an amazing time on campus. And I think it also benefits the family relationship, that shift we talked about, that break when the time spent on campus can be a common enjoyment and a shared experience, really speaks volumes to the time that their student has here and how they're able to achieve here on campus, be it socially, academically, or just personally in growing in themselves and their self-confidence. So that's what I would recommend. I know it sounds like I'm just plugging my own programs, but really, I think that's what stands out for me is those families that are engaged in enjoying their students' time here. That is what kind of sometimes makes the difference. All right, folks, I am sorry if I did not get to your question today. We're going to try and answer some offline as I move to close this session. But also, please feel free to email us at parents@ucsd.edu if you would like to follow up and ensure that you have your question answered. Again, our office operates on three simple things, is that when families are informed, when families are involved, and when families are engaged, students benefit. Thank you all for the time you've spent today with me supporting your student experience here at UC San Diego. Please ensure to follow us on our social media accounts. Specifically, check out our YouTube channel because that has our library of webinars for the past near 6 years going on now. And again, our contact information and our website is also on screen. Parents.ucsd.edu is a great resource. And if you have questions, feel free to contact us at our email or phone number. Thank you all so much and enjoy the rest of your day.